This video describes a real success story, which shows that a person is able to achieve any goal, and all the difficulties that are encountered in the process of achieving the result are surmountable. If you are pursuing a certain goal, it doesn't matter what obstacles stand in your way. The easiest way to achieve what you want is to model success. Find someone who has already solved these problems and apply their tactics to your endeavor. In this short video, we describe the story of Shris Gardner, a man who as a poor and homeless man managed to become a multimillionaire because he followed the motto, "Don't give up." A fascinating biography, the plot of which was the basis for the movie The Pursuit of Happyness, starring Will Smith. So Shris Gardner is a man who grew up in an environment where everything turned against him. He knew nothing of his father, had to wander all the time from one orphanage to another, because his mother was jailed with enviable regularity. Once she tried to set fire to the house where Chris's stepfather was sleeping. After that, the woman was arrested for a longer term. Shris Gardner didn't have the benchmark examples in front of him, and he couldn't have, given his endless bouncing around in orphanages. His teenage years were filled with drugs and alcohol, and he had no prospects of becoming successful. Things were going very badly. But the hero didn't give up. He wanted to get out of this quagmire, wanted to start his life over, and so he went to work as an assistant in a medical research laboratory, where the salary was $8,000 a year. He began dating a girl who soon gave birth to his son. At that time the father realized, on $8,000 a year his child could not survive, but what to do, didn't know. He fought as best he could, but he had no savings or education. No one gave him advice on how to act in one situation or another, and he did his best to support the family. But there was one thing Shris had always known: he could not give up. The turning point was the day when he accidentally met a man in a fancy business suit getting out of a Ferrari. Shris asked the man who he worked for, and the new acquaintance told him about his job as a stockbroker. From that moment, Shris Gardner was determined to become this very stockbroker. But he had a big problem: lack of education and absolutely no connections. The poor man had no idea how the stock exchange worked, had never invested money, and was much older than all those who were just starting their way in this profession. Everything was against him. But he didn't give up. Shris struck up a conversation with this broker, during which he learned that the firm was now recruiting for an internship. Over the next 2 or 3 months our hero drastically reduced the workload at his job and gave up many agreements for the prospect of getting into a new corporation. He tried to learn as much as he could about the internship. By coming to all sorts of meetings and seminars, Gardner received $1,200 worth of parking tickets. After a few months of trying, he did get hired for the internship. Shris was ecstatic. "Yes, I did it. I did the unreal thing. I got this internship, and the rest of my life is going to be new." And on his debut day at work, the hero learns, the man who took him on is fired. The job is gone. Shris Gardner put all his resources and energy into getting this position. He quit his day job when he found out he had been hired. And so, he came to a new company, but it turned out that there was nowhere for him to work. You think this is the bottom and it couldn't get any worse? But that was just the beginning of the ordeal. He was subsequently detained for failing to pay fines of $1,200, and the court ordered him sent behind bars for 10 days. But even that wasn't the end of the trouble. Upon his return home, he learned that his wife had left, taking her son with her. Shris Gardner was desperate, but he still hadn't given up. At a time when another man would have long ago said, Those are goddamn signs from on high. He didn't give up and kept going after his dream. He found a new company with the same internship, interviewed for it, and was hired. But there was a serious problem, too. The internship was not paid for in any way. He had no way to make any money, and he had to work very hard. He had no savings and no rich relatives. The apprenticeship went on, and then suddenly his wife came back, gave his son away, and declared, "He's your care now. I don't need Gardner Jr. anymore," thus placing on his shoulders the entire responsibility for the life and upbringing of a young child. And what does he get at this point? Not a cent in his wallet, an unpaid internship, and a young son to take care of. His only income during this time was a part-time job in which Shris sold medical equipment. That only earned him $300 a month. This was the money the two of them had to live on. And he had to choose between putting a roof over his son's head or food. Gardner Sr. chose food. He roamed the homeless shelters, the temples, and any shelter that welcomed him for the night. But despite this situation, he was daily one of the first employees to come to work and one of the last to leave. In this company, for the vast majority of people in telephone sales, 100 calls in a day is a real achievement. Shris Gardner set a goal of making 200 calls. Unthinkable. Crazy hard work and results. He would wake up, rush to the office, call fanatically while the workday continued, and then walk back to find another place to stay the night with his son. Many people had given up and would have stopped long before all this. But Shris Gardner kept fighting. Disregarding the fact that all circumstances were stacked against him, through his steely persistence and tremendous hard work, the hero achieved his goal. He successfully completed his internship at Dean Witter Reynolds. Shris Gardner was able to pull himself out of poverty. Afterward, he focused all his energies and finances on starting his own brokerage firm, Gardner Rich & Co. in Chicago, and he succeeded. And afterwards he sold it and made a profit of several tens of millions. Such a colorful life story naturally roused a great deal of interest among journalists. Father and son gave countless interviews in which they talked about all the hardships and good people who helped them through difficult times. Christopher Gardner Jr. recalled, "I can't say we were homeless. I just knew we had to go all the time. So if I remember anything, it's how we walked." What is there to take from this story? A lot of people feel like all the circumstances are stacked against them. They say to themselves, "I don't have any prospects, I don't know people, I don't have the right education, I don't have the means," and those people give up. Remember, successful people don't give up. Even in those moments when life is really bad. If you believe in your dream, which seems crazy to everyone, you must go forward. Do not give up. And it can lead you to multi-million-dollar profits. Yes, about the Ferrari that Shris Gardner once loved so much. He bought himself one just like it, a red one. Then a second one, a black one, from Michael Jordan, on which he mounted a license plate with "Not MJ," the secret meaning of which only he and his mother know. The movie The Pursuit of Happyness, based on a memoir written by Shris Gardner, a feature film, was released in 2006, the title of which best describes the life of the main character. The role of Shris was played by Will Smith. The main difference between the screen version and the memoir, the age of the son. Gardner Jr. in the movie is 5 years older than his real prototype in the times described in the movie. The highlight of the film is the appearance of the real Shris Gardner on the screen. You can see him at the very end, when the main characters are walking down the street, joking and talking about planets. At this point, A black man in a suit passes in the foreground. Before the credits roll, he turns around and looks after his prototype. The Pursuit of Happyness is a nominee and winner of many cinematic awards, including an Academy Award for Best Actor. Thanks to this film, millions of people around the world learned about Shris Gardner. The hero of our article published his story in his autobiographical book The Pursuit of Happyness. The book has sold huge numbers of copies, and is still in demand among readers. It is recommended to read it for everyone who doubts, is afraid and thinks that nothing will work or is in search of his happiness. Going around the network and quotes of the businessman. His life experience and path to success makes many aspiring entrepreneurs listen to him. Here are the most striking and interesting of them. Son, never let anyone say that you cannot do it. Don't even let me. Okay? I'm the kind of person that if you ask me a question I don't know the answer to, I'll answer that I don't know. But believe me, I know how to find it, that answer, and I will find it. Isn't that the main thing? Go ahead and don't stop in the face of difficulties. Don't talk in vain. You don't have to walk by leaps and bounds. You can walk by small steps. The main thing is to move forward. Move forward. Financial status of the businessman at the moment according to various data, including Forbes. Shris Gardner's capital at the moment is about $60 million. He travels a lot, gives lectures and motivational speeches. He does charity work, helping the homeless. This concludes our video about an extraordinary fate with a happy outcome. We hope this material was useful for you and that you find something important in it for yourselves.